Hey, welcome to another episode of the WP Crowd. Today we are talking WordPress comments with Jason and Josh. Go ahead and start with introductions with Josh.
Hi, my name's Josh Pollock. I'm from Caldera WP. We make Caldera forms, drag and drop responsive form builder, and I teach WordPress development with my buddy Roy over here at Caldera Learn.
Cool. And Jason?
Hi, Roy. I'm Jason Lemieux. I'm the founder at Postmatic. We make a series of 6 native comment-based WordPress commenting plugins. We're trying to breathe a little life back into commenting and innovate while we're at it.
So today we're going to start with a kind of important question because WordPress has evolved quite a few times over the last 13 years. WordPress started out primarily as a blogging engine. So people would use it to create their blogs and attachment to their website for their blogs. So comments were always kind of a big thing, you know, in the start. As WordPress has evolved to a CMS, and now, you know, if you follow Ryan McHugh's talk from LoopConf, kind of evolving even further into maybe even a platform, comments have kind of taken on the sidelines. So the question is, are WordPress comments still even important? Jason, I'm posing the question to you because you are the most knowledgeable out of all 3 of us on comments.
All right.
Are WordPress comments still a thing? And should they be a thing, and why are they a thing?
All right. Well, I don't think that this applies just to WordPress, but WordPress does have a long and tenuous relationship with comments. And but anyway, we'll take your question. So, do WordPress comments matter? They certainly do. You know, we had this period of time that commenting in the early days was pretty important and pretty hot, and then third-party comment systems kind of came in and rose in popularity. Disqus and Livefire and others, and they solved a lot of the technical and user experience issues in commenting, and but they also introduced a lot of privacy and data ownership issues. And so their downfall, kind of, all those services have stagnated, and comments became really unpopular for a while, probably largely because of that. The experience was so poor. And so there's been a resurgence in comments, and I think matter more now than they ever have, or just as much as they always have. There's been rises and falls in the popularity of comments, but at the end of the day, they will always exist and need to exist, because if you're going to put the effort into creating content on your site, whether that's a personal blog, a newspaper, or your business blog or your content marketing site, to not engage your readers in conversation based around the content that you've put so much effort into is leaving a lot of money on the table, actually, in actual dollars and cents, and also in search engine relevance ratings, as well as in authority in your area and in your niche, especially in the content marketing world.
Can you touch on why comments and SEO go hand in hand?
Sure. This can be more seen in sites like maybe Tom McFarlane, for example, who, you know, has established himself as an authority on WordPress development and high-end WordPress development. He blogs daily at tommcfarlane.com, and just totally owns SEO on tons of WordPress-related search queries. And one of the reasons that he stays at the top of those search results year after year is that he maintains ongoing conversations with his readers. So when Google or other search engines are indexing your content, if you already grabbed some pretty good SEO on a certain topic or search query, then obviously they're going to index your page and revisit it once in a while. And when search engines see ongoing conversation around a piece that you've written, and certainly highly relevant, engaged, ongoing conversation, then I don't have the hard data on this because it's actually hard to calculate it, but there are indicators for relevance and for ongoing conversation that pertains to the original content of your post that does give you a bump in your SEO results and your search engine rankings. The bottom line is Google loves content that's kept current and that new ideas are added to. And comments are one of the easiest ways to do that.
Josh, you have a site where you blog to a lot. I mean, I mean, you kind of mix yourself up between your site and like Torque Mag and some other other websites. But for the most part, everywhere you blog, I see that there's comments turned on. Do you find that it allows you to keep engagement going, or as an author, what do you think the benefits are for comments?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not the world's most popular writer. Like, I don't, like, a highly trafficked article for me can get up to like 6 comments. But I think that they're good for like clarifying, right? Like a good technical, right? Like I'm writing technical stuff about web development. So I think that most of the time the comments are like clarifying shit that wasn't clear, and that's really valuable just in terms of like when one person's like pointing out that thing that like other people likely missed, having it there at the bottom is really nice. And I think it helps get like new eyes on it. Like even sometimes people like tweet at me that they left a comment, which is kind of cool. Just because that's like public, and then it drives people back to the thing. So yeah, I think it's good. I definitely prefer it to people like sending me contact form about articles I wrote years ago, which is like a real thing that happens, right?
Yeah, no,
on the kind of content that you're writing, Josh, you have an overlap with Tom in that you're both writing from a technical standpoint. And it's interesting because Tom does get a lot more comments than you do. I mean, the first thing to look at there is obviously he's been in the game longer, and he has a rather large mailing list that he mails content to as well.
And he also does it every day.
Yeah, he does it every day. But there's a difference in your writing style that I think that encourages comments more on his site. And given the style that he writes, then the more, I would consider that your stuff it's both technical, but yours is more technical, and his maybe it's a bit more conversational to begin with in the post content. So that makes a difference, and I think he is purposeful about that in order to facilitate the engagement, and then everything that comes with that down below. But you're a good writer.
I think that that's part of the strategy, right? Like I think that maybe not all websites need comments, but like anything else that you're going to use on your website, Jason's gonna like reach through the internet and smack me for that. But the fact of the matter is that like all the tools that you have at your disposal, you have to like think through how you're going to use them effectively. And what's your strategy in your business and in your design and in your tooling that you use to make the most of that or to minimize it because it's not part of your strategy.
Right, but at the end of the day, you're going to have conversation at some point when your audience is large enough. You are going to have conversation around your ideas. And where commenting becomes, especially in WordPress, becomes really important there is that owning that conversation is A, it's really easy, and B, it's very important. If you don't have comments turned on and you're thinking, I'm going to just let people discuss this on Twitter or on Facebook, you're losing that content. You're losing that SEO that comes with that content. And you're also, of course, there's privacy implications that you're selling your users' data or giving away as it may be. But owning that conversation on your own site or on your own blog is incredibly important, rather than just giving away all those ideas to a giant network.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, this is sort of like a design decision in WordPress, right? Like when WordPress started, there weren't really big social networks, right? Like WordPress is about as old as Facebook, but Facebook was not culturally prevalent and pervasive, nor was Twitter 13 years ago. And so that wasn't a great alternative, right? Like we didn't have big conversations on MySpace. Like I use MySpace, but we didn't have great conversations like we do on Facebook or Twitter there. So the blog comment, be it WordPress or whatever, was sort of the only way to have those discussions. I mean, like ultra nerds were on like forums and IRC and stuff, but like general consumption, like you went to the blog and you have to comment and hope somebody else read it. But WordPress was designed to be decentralized, and I think that was a weakness of WordPress. Was that WordPress continues to be decentralized. It's a strength, obviously, but in this case, because there's no great connector, and I know that's like Matt's vision for Jetpack. Let's not go there. And as a result, like Jason's writing over here, Tom's writing over there, Roy's writing over there, Josh is writing over here. There's not a central place for it. And like, look at WP Crowd. We get the best conversation in advanced WordPress about our episodes. Like, people aren't going to our site to discuss it. The only way we can get discussion running is like Roy starts a discussion in advanced WordPress Facebook group, which is a private group that, you know, only those 6,000 people can view, doesn't show up on the website, has all of those problems that Jason's correct about. But that's
so do you think comments are kind of, as important as they aren't playing a big enough role as they used to, or they aren't playing a big enough role as they should right now because people prefer not to go to the website and comment? Because I agree with you. AWP, which is a, you know, what, almost 27,000 people in it. If I want to start a conversation about a episode or a blog post that we wrote on WP Crowd, I can get a conversation going with, you know, barely any effort on AWP, because I'm guaranteed at least some percentage of that 27,000 people to see my post. I don't know what percentage of those actually read or watch the video, but it's a good way to get the conversation going.
Well, also, I think it's a matter of WordPress out of the box kind of lacks the tools to do conversation, right? Right? Like, you can't reply to comments on email out of the box. I mean, there might be a way to add that functionality that maybe Jason could talk to us about. But, right, like, there isn't like social login. You know, like WordPress ships with a keysmith, but you need a key, you know, for anti-spam. So I think like out of the box, you're kind of missing those tools that, you know, like live commenting for like fast-paced discussion or email delivery, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the whole experience has stagnated in WordPress for a long time. When the third-party commenting systems kind of really took over and grabbed just enormous amounts of market share, specifically Discuss and Livefire, both of which are kind of going, well, Livefire's closed now at this point. They're in read-only mode, and they're doing a full shutdown at the end of February. And Discuss, of course, is now starting to charge money or inject ads into the post and the comment stream itself. So they kind of grabbed this market share, and now they're running with it in not so good ways, because the tools in WordPress really stagnated for so long. And so there's a number of things that Facebook does do for you, and that Twitter, well, you know, I maybe some other day we should argue that, can you possibly even have a good conversation on Twitter? I'm going to say no. I've been trying to embrace it for solidly for a year now, after avoiding it for a long time, and I just can't have conversations on Twitter. Facebook definitely has some good conversational tools, but again, there's data ownership issues. And to answer your question, Roy, I think you can get the conversation started on WordPress, on AWP and Facebook, you know, relatively easier than you can than on your site. And I think that that has to do with the audience. That's where people are all day. They have that tab open on their browser and it dings at them, and there they go, they're talking. Getting that traffic over to your site is something that maybe you want to figure out so that people can have the conversation there. But the tools in WordPress, that's what we've been trying to solve. We have 6 plugins now, and they solve various aspects of commenting. The first, which is something that Josh helped us build, is a plugin called Epic that is a Discuss alternative that uses native comments. So it solves a big problem with WordPress commenting for large sites, is that your server is just going to die if you have a high traffic site and you have a lot of comments. Then it makes problems with being able to cache the page and using CDNs and things like that. So that's one of the reasons people use Discuss to begin with. So we solved that with Epic. It's a JavaScript-based front-end commenting system that adds a lot of the same features that Discuss does. It takes load off your server. It's real-time, AJAX-based commenting, and it also replaces the comment template that may have come with your theme, which a lot of times comment templates are pretty horrible. So it solves that while still inheriting the styles of your theme. So it looks in place and it looks good on most any theme, and solves a lot of performance issues. So we've got that going. And then, you know, something that's horrible in WordPress comment land that, you know, social networks do so much better is comment notifications. So these are notifications for both moderation as well as that a new comment has been published. And even though I've been working in comments for 3 years now, I had never taken the time until this week to sit down and properly audit how the comment notification system works in WordPress. So we're going to do a quick quiz, Josh and Roy. Let's see. Josh, if you're running vanilla out of the box WordPress comments and you haven't touched the discussion settings in WordPress, and I come to your site as a brand new user, and let's say that Christy has written the post that I'm going to comment on. Christy is an author on your site, your partner.
That's true.
Yeah.
I got
Christy
that
wrote a
question.
post,
I'm going to get every other question wrong.
and I comment on it.
Good job, Josh.
Who is going to get the moderation notice that there is a comment that needs to be moderated?
I feel like those emails just go to spam anyway, like the ones for moderation if you don't have Postmatic running.
No, we're just talking out of the box.
Right, that's
Out of
what
the
I'm
box.
saying. Like, if you don't have Postmatic running, I'm pretty
Doesn't it go to the admin email? Like whatever's default admin email?
What do you mean by default admin? What is
Whatever
that?
you set, whenever you set up the WordPress site, there's an admin email, right? Like the
Settings
site,
general?
the site admin.
Okay, that's okay. In settings general, that's Roy's idea.
I'm going to go with the author of the post.
With the author of the post. All right. Let's see. I have to actually reference my chart here. All right.
Oh, you don't even know the answer to your own quiz. I see how it
It's
is.
so confusing. Okay, you are both correct. However, if you go to the second, congratulations. If you go to the settings discussion tab in your WordPress installation, there's a checkbox that says email me whenever a comment is held for moderation. Email me whenever a comment is held, whenever a new comment is published. Right, and there's this discrepancy as an admin user, I'm checking these boxes to be like, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to make my comments go in the right place. So email me, I'm logged in on Josh's site as Jason, and I'm an admin user. I'm going to assume, given that interface, that I'm going to get notified of new comments and of comment moderation, which is totally wrong. Because as Royce points out, it goes to the moderation notices go to the address that's defined in settings general, and they go to the post author. They don't go to me as the admin that's configuring the screen or any of the other admins that may be configuring that screen. And there are no checkboxes in the user profile for me to do user-based notifications.
Can I just say that that screen, that discussion settings screen, is probably the most confusing settings screen in any settings screen on any CMS or any platform, because I've looked at that thing so many times over the past 13 years, and I never know what combination of checkboxes will ever get me to where I want it to go.
Oh, I have no clue what any of that stuff does, and it is baffling that for 13 years nobody's bothered to change that. In fact, like, I remember hearing a whole discussion about how nobody clicks any of those boxes. There was hard data to back it up. Also, nobody, including the people who the core development team, understood what any of the things said, and they were going to redo it. But like, it's open source. Like, somebody's got to go in and do it, right?
Well, I am submitting a patch on that very screen very soon, actually. But,
Good.
Yeah, because I mean, out of the simplest thing, the email me whenever should be. It's really hard to come up with the right language for that, because it's email the post author or the address set in general settings, which is often just set by your web host. That always ends up to like admin@bluehost.com, right? And then so this is a really critical function of trying to drive engagement, which then drives SEO and drives sales. And this is the first start of like, you've got a new comment that you need to decide if it's worth to publish, and like you're not even getting the email. And then if you do even get the email, it's like impossibly difficult to read, and it's like horrible. I mean, it hasn't been touched since like 2001 or something. Who knows when?
Right. So
Right.
I tend to like to moderate my comments directly through Gmail, because I have this service that you might have heard of called Postmatic.
Yes, that's quite nice. So anyway, so we fixed this. So we fixed notifications. Well, we just published on our site today an audit of all the settings on the screen and how they work and what you need to know. And
We'll
that's
share
at
that link below.
replyable.com on our blog. We published that today. This is in my head because I just spent a couple of days actually researching it and coming up with a patch. So we're trying to fix that. But as far as actually fixing those notifications, yeah. So our other plugin is Replyable, which takes care of comment notifications and comment subscriptions so that it's perfect. The right comments go to the right people at the right time. People can moderate comments right from inside their email box with just simple email commands. And of course, any comment notifications that you get. If I write a comment on Josh's blog, he gets a comment of it. He can leave me a follow-up comment right from email just by hitting reply, just like it should be, like it is on Basecamp, it is on GitHub. It is maybe, I don't know if Facebook does it now or not. Google Groups, I'm not sure. But email's supposed to be two-way. It's not a notification system, it's a conversation system. So we take care of all that with Replyable. So we fixed front-end commenting with Epic. We fixed notifications with Replyable. And then moderation is another big one that we're moving into. We have a companion plugin called Crowd Control that decentralizes moderation out to your community a little bit. We have big plans for the second version of that to get much more proactive with community-based moderation. Josh is going to volunteer to
do your plugins like Epic tie into what default WordPress comes with Akismet, which handles a lot of that spam stuff? Does your plugin handle tie into that? Do you have your own proprietary thing that you kind of have running to catch spam?
No, so since we're just using native comments, we're compatible with most any other comment plugins and certainly any moderation flows. So any anti-spam plugins that you have, Akismet, WP Bruiser, anything like that, we're compatible with that. At the end of the day, there's the last thing that happens to a comment is the notification. So we just hang out way low priority and send the notification when everything else is done, wrestling your comment. The one kind of service API that we do offer that's in that neighborhood is built into Replyable and Postmatic, and one of our third plugins called Elevated Comments is we have an API that the New York Times developed an algorithm to check comments for relevancy, reading score, length, and relevance, reading score, length, and I don't know, sentiment maybe, one other thing. It's called Comment IQ, and they open source this algorithm. So we run a Comment IQ server. So when comments are flying through your site and you're running one of our plugins that uses this technology, we do some comment analysis after they've gone through moderation and spam. We then rank them for relevance. So we cross-reference the comment with the original content of the post as well and generate a relevance score for that and a relevance score for other comments in that conversation, and are able to determine, is this a quality comment? So Replyable with our comment notifications, for example, if you subscribe to comments, we're not going to send you a comment that says, nice post, Josh, thanks. That's just not important. And so we hold that back. And that doesn't go out and bother anybody with an email for a ridiculous comment. The ridiculous comments are all saved for a daily digest that goes out, and you can kind of see anything that you might have missed. But yeah, that's built into Replyable and Postmatic. And the other cool plugin, which Carl Alexander developed for us based on that, is called Elevated Comments, that does this thing that Salon had played with, and where they take one of the best comments, in their case it's hand curated on a post, and they automatically insert it as a sidebar above the fold on the post itself, which has this interesting effect that as the user is reading the post, they kind of get a little bit of a context of what the conversation about that post is while they're still in the process of reading the post, and kind of frames their thinking to the conversation and what other people are thinking about this piece. And so we use that API for that as well. It's called Elevated Comments. All of these are in the repo. And Elevated Comments has been really cool, and it's really good for increasing engagement, because it does challenge people to say more intelligent things than not, because they will get elevated up to the top of the post, and brings a little bit of the conversation from way down below up top. It's been pretty neat. It doesn't have much of an install base. It's not very popular, but it's very cool and it works really well.
Let's talk about Epic versus Discuss for a second, because Discuss was my favorite go-to plugin, because when it first started to roll out, I think LinkedIn actually actually used Discuss. And they quickly released their data showing that people loved using it. And it was kind of this thing where WordPress was you know, if you do default WordPress comments, it's, you know, you got to put in your name, email address, and like a website. That's the data it gives you. If you do like Facebook commenting, you could install, there's plenty of plugins for that, which allow people to be logged in through their Facebook account.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss a lot was the first one I saw out loud in almost any social network, or really any open graph, I think.
Yeah.
User kind of authentication to comment, which also allowed people to not use, like WordPress, and the WordPress realm, Twitter is really big. And we noticed this a few years ago where people didn't want to use their Facebook because Facebook is kind of like, people kind of make Facebook more personal. And Twitter, LinkedIn, things like that, those are like the professional, I'm going to comment on, with this personality instead. It's kind of like their outgoing personality versus the family personal one.
Yeah.
So Discuss was actually really great. I mean, people complained for a while that you don't get to keep your comments, but the comments were in the comment system. They didn't like steal them from you. So what was, like, you being more on the inside, what was the issue with Discuss, and what did Epoch or Epic, you know, kind of do better than Discuss does?
Yeah.
Because I know Discuss is Discuss not great right now. Ever since they started injecting ads and stuff, I definitely switched over. WP Crowd uses a mix of Epic and I think WP Discuss, which isn't Discuss, it's like another thing. But yeah, so what does Epic do that, you know, Discuss didn't do or does better?
So it does less. That's what it does that Discuss didn't do. It does less than Discuss. It's a bit simpler. So the other plugin that you mentioned that you guys have been playing with is WP Discuss with a Z, which is another native comment based. It's a plugin just like Epic. It's much heavier on feature set. For a certain kind of site, it's really good, and it's consistently, they release like every week. They're just cranking away on it. It's some folks from Russia that work on it, and I've talked with them. They're great, and they're making a good product, and they're monetizing with an add-on system. But the base product is actually really solid for, like, I don't know, certain kind of magazine-based sites. It has a certain niche, and it's definitely worth checking it out. It's in the repo as well. So what Epic does that Discuss doesn't is primarily it keeps your data integrity intact. So Discuss does do a remarkably good job of copying comments back into your local WordPress database. And so it's not the worst thing as when it comes to data ownership. Livefire is the one that data ownership is a total mess. Livefire, there's a lot of people right now that are really mad because Livefire just shut down, and the exporter tool that they released to the community, it doesn't include any comment meta, so you don't even get the email addresses of all the people that have been commenting on your site for the last 10 years. And you also don't get comment hierarchy, so you can't generate gravatars because you don't have email addresses, and then all the threaded conversations are flat, and so it's just like, anyway, it's a mess. So Discuss, they do a really good job of copying over comments, comment meta, email addresses. It's very good that way, but their privacy policies are horrible. Even before the scandal that broke, this last month about them inserting ads, very clearly still in their privacy policy for a long time was, language that certainly said, we are just a data mining company, and by running us, we're tracking your users. We're generating profiles on them. We're generating profiles on what they read, what they comment on, what their opinions are, and we sell all of that data to the highest bidder and the lowest bidder. So they had a pretty invasive privacy policy and privacy practices that, they essentially exist to be a user profiling company.
Right, they were doing a churn box for a while, but I think they basically just they found better. Like, that was one of their monetization strategies, but I think, did they stop doing that at some point and they're just selling the data to other churn boxes?
I'm not sure. I don't know where they went with it. I mean, at this point, they now have pivoted a little bit or added on doing after the post, before the comment ads, a grid of 6 of them or so. You can opt out of them if you give them $10 a month. But that's where they're going kind of for monetization now. And I don't know how they're doing as a business. I mean, they haven't taken on funding for quite a long time. They did take on a lot of funding in like 2008, and I don't think they have since. So maybe they're making it work. Maybe I don't really know what's going on. But so privacy was a big deal. Chris Lemma actually has a pretty good post on it where he does pick apart their privacy policy a little bit, and that post is worth reading if you just Google Chris Lemma discuss. It's, or if you just Google why I hate discuss or something, it's like the top result. So one of the conveniences that it did offer, though, of course, is the avoiding of the comment form. So we didn't build that into Epic because we want to have a really modular comment-based suite of plugins that people can kind of pick and choose which of our plugins they want to use, as well as others, since we all use native comments to kind of build out the comment experience that they want. So one that I think maybe Josh, no, you didn't contribute to this one. We released last year Postmatic social commenting. Which,
nope, I didn't do anything on that.
No, you didn't.
Sorry.
Which is in contrast to a social login plugin. It's not a social login plugin. There's many of those, like One All Social Login and stuff, that lets people log into WordPress using their social profile, and that's creating a user for them and all that stuff. We want to avoid that and just do a dead simple authentication. So if you add Postmatic social commenting to your site, works with Epic, works with vanilla native comments, works with Discuss, whatever, then you can connect, you can let people authenticate their identity with their Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google profiles. Oh, and WordPress.com profiles. And it's super quick, Ajax, one click, and it recognizes you're already logged into Twitter, sets the session cookie in WordPress, and you're off and running, entering your comment. So it's fast. It's actually a lot faster than even logging in with Discuss. It works quite nicely. It's a pain in the neck to set up, though. Like getting a universal API key out of any significant social network costs a ton of money. So in setting that up, you do have to create your own Facebook app, Twitter app, Google app, etc. Copy paste a bunch of API keys. It's admittedly it's like it's a pain in the neck. Even if you know what you're doing, it's still going to take you 20 minutes to set it up.
Yeah, but a lot of the other plugins out there, if you're doing anything with social, you're going to need to do that kind of thing. Like most of them have easy enough to follow instructions where it's like, here, go to Facebook developers, create an app. A lot of those have now become complicated. Like Facebook, creating an app and getting an API key from Facebook used to be like a 2-minute thing. And now even I find it being kind of like a chore because it's like, they have so many different, their UI has changed a few times, and the types of apps, you have to have the right type of app. It's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, I maintain video instructions. We embed videos right in that plugin on the setup screen of here's how you do Facebook. And that Facebook one I have to update constantly. They're always changing the UI, and the requirements are insane. Okay,
so my one last question to you is actually not really comment related, but more Postmatic related. Me and you have had many conversations where I am so confused as to what you do. And now that we're sitting down, you're talking about all the plugins you guys have. Is there a place that you have online where it's like, just lays all that out? Like, hey, there's all these chunks, right? And some people want everything, and some people only want chunks, and they're not sure what chunks they want. So is there an easy way to find out, hey, I need Epic with replyable and, Postmatic social so I can get this, which is what I want?
Yeah. So that's to say, when we started out, we didn't want to be Jetpack. We didn't want to be an enormous plugin that is really 14 or 27 plugins kind of bundled together. So we made that choice that we're going to keep everything as home plugin. Still don't know if that's the right choice or not. So let this be a lesson. There seems to be no clear answer as to if you're going to tackle many problems, is it better to bundle them into one plugin or bundle them into 6? I'm not sure. But we have it all laid out. If you go to gopostmatic.com/about, and on that page, if you scroll to the bottom, we list out our plugins, who their contributors are, links to the repo on WordPress.org, as well as links to their GitHub repos. If anyone wants to contribute anything, we do need contributors across a couple of projects right now. Solving commenting is not easy. So we're doing a big push right now for Epic 2.0 that Josh kicked off with me like a year ago. And then I kind of sat on for 9 months and moved and blah, blah, blah. But Epic 2.0 is based on, I don't even think it's just jQuery now, right? There's no Angular anymore. Do you know, Josh? You don't even know.
It is pure jQuery. It's very lightweight. And it, uses the WordPress REST API, and I think it's pretty magic. Like it.
So you took out the best part of the best part.
What?
The Angular.
The Angular. No, I never used
I
Angular.
tried it with Angular. It was overkill, bro.
I know.
We started developing with Angular, then we moved to something, and then we decided just to go with jQuery and the REST API. And it's insanely fast, but we do need a little bit more contributors to kick the thing out the door. If anyone's interested, get in touch with me.
Okay, so sorry, I do have one more question, and it kind of relates
You
back.
can say one more question and then one more question.
Yeah, I know, but while I was sitting here, I was thinking of the last podcast I did with Nick and Carl, where we talked about what we want out of the future of WordPress. So I'm going to pose the same question to you just for commenting alone. Where do, like, as an author and as a plugin developer for commenting, right, comment architecture and the whole stack, where do you guys want, or what do you guys want out of WordPress commenting, or like, what do you want it to do, or what are some, like, wish list items for you? Sure.
Well, we really wanted comment meta for a while, and we got comment meta in 4.6, I think, maybe 4.7. So that opened a lot of doors that we're still kind of tinkering with right now. So we kind of got our big wish list item just recently. And where we want next is we certainly want to be able to overhaul that discussion settings screen and maybe tweak some of the default settings that does ship with WordPress to improve, and I mean, to give commenting even like, just give it a chance out of the box. Like the way it's set up now, I completely understand why you would turn off commenting and why that's, why there's a plugin called Disable Comments that has more active installs than all of my commenting plugins combined, right? I mean, it's just like out of the box, it hasn't been given any love in quite a long time. And so we're trying to get involved more to make that happen in core. But my wish list would be, to make the commenting experience out of the box be a, remotely decent but it's pretty much completely broken at this point. Josh, do you have anything on the, I'm not as nearly as good of a developer as Josh is. Josh, on the performance and database side and the queries.
Yeah. So I was going to give a very developer experience focused answer.
Do it.
Right. Like if you watch Ryan McHugh's video from RubeConf, which you should, everybody should watch, he talks about prioritizing the developer experience. It says that's not discounting the fact that this is a user-facing platform, but if we want cool stuff for users, we have to create a better developer experience. And I think a lot of the developer experience around comments sucks because the system is so strongly tied to the idea that comments will be rendered on the page inside of a WordPress theme. And the REST API helps to paper over this a bit. But it's still kind of gnarly, and I've opened and worked on some issues of where the APIs were just especially 2 years ago when I first got involved with JSON, we're just so strongly tied to the traditional way that it's just really kind of sucked to work with. So I'd like to see more modernization that we've seen a lot of. Rachel Baker and Scott Taylor have done a lot of great work on modernizing those APIs internally, and the REST API provides a good interface. In notifications, also, just abstract notifications, emails from plugins, comment notifications. I think WordPress core could provide better tooling to make those more extensible and easier to work with. Right, like I was working today with Easy Digital Downloads, which has an email system in it, which is really cool. But it's why isn't that a good abstract class for sending a notification and sending an email that can be extended by plugin developers, not a thing. And then I was dealing with queuing lots of emails, and then now it's back to being a pain in the ass. So I think those sort of things for the developer experience I would like to see change.
Thank you for saying something way more advanced than I would be able to, Josh.
Well, I'm going to say from
the short version of that is that Jason's building lots of cool stuff to improve like the visitor to the site experience and the manager moderator site experience. And I've seen little bits of that on the inside, and I've talked to Dylan a lot about that kind of stuff. It sucks. It's really difficult. And I think that WordPress core could provide better tools for people like Jason and Dylan, who's his primary developer there, to do cool stuff like Postmatic better and easy.
Yeah, I think from a content creation point of view as well, we're kind of mixing that with what Josh said. The data needs to be a little bit easier to manage. I think that there needs to be a clear set of plugins or something built in to help boost engagement, because we may get a good amount of visitors to, this blog, this article, or this podcast or another article we write. But engagement still sucks. And so just having the tools to increase engagement on the comments and bring that out of the social realm. I'd love to see a plugin that, Josh talked a lot about how on some level WordPress should be centralized, and, Josh's blog post, my blog post, and, other related blog posts maybe, should be centralized somewhere. I'd love to see discussion for a certain post be centralized with that post. So if I'm writing a comment on Josh's article and Josh posts that article on Facebook and there's a discussion going on there, being able to see that discussion back and be part of it, kind of engaged on his site, would be kind of cool to see. Basically just bringing the conversation to one place. And that's what I'd love to see out of it. I mean, again, from why do we need comments? I think that if you're writing blog posts, then you want engagement. I mean, there's no point in writing a blog post without wanting engagement out of it. So, you want people to share it on social media. You want people to keep on talking about it. Comments are the way to go, and they're kind of necessary.
Yeah, the idea of centralizing conversation into one place has some fans and has some detractors as well. There's a group of folks who want to centralize the conversation onto their site, and the tools to bring the conversation from Twitter in and Facebook in, like, nobody's been able to ever do that, right? And partially I suspect that that's on purpose on Twitter and Facebook's end, that it's so difficult to do so. We consistently keep an eye on the APIs and try to figure out, could we build something like that? And the answer is no. I mean, there's really simple reasons, like the Twitter API, at least the latest version as of 6 months ago, does not let you query or track replies to a tweet over the API. Can't track replies. And so it gets really hard to do those tools. So there's a group of people that wants that. And then there's also a group of people that are, they're floating this idea of, I want, maybe something more like Reddit, like, publishers should not own the conversation around the content, and they should not have the tools for censorship and moderation around the things that they are publishing. And so what about a centralized area to discuss content without the actual publishers being able to censor that discussion? So that's the other crowd, and that sometimes we hear from frequently, of like, hey, I'm interested in this idea of taking the conversation out of the hands of the publishers and putting it into the audience. And so there's a lot of interesting ideas, and I don't know which one's going to ever really hit. But we keeping our eye on where people want to talk and how to best balance things so it's fair for everybody.
Awesome. So I'm going to cut it off there because we're out of time a little bit. I do, maybe we'll have Jason back on because the conversation discussion is actually kind of an interesting conversation meta in itself.
People can continue the conversation on the WPCrowd.com in the comments.
That's right. It's down there.
Yeah. Well,
if we can fix Roy's server to make his comment plugins work the right way.
Yeah.
So that's a different discussion next week on the WP Crowd.
So we'll have another conversation about conversations and where they should be and whatever. But for now, I'm going to cut off this one. Thank you guys.
Roy. We launched a new blog. If you are truly interested in comments, why they matter, how to make them better, blah, 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 blah. We just launched a new blog at replyable.com/blog. Go to that, and we're publishing at least once a week. And we have a couple of guest authors as well that are publishing really great content. That's where the series on picking apart the WordPress default comment notification settings and discussion settings page is, and all that. Go there as well, and you can subscribe.
And just if you, after hearing all this, really want to check out a new WordPress form builder, you can go to calderaforms.com. Both seamless. Nailed it.
All right, so we're gonna end there again for the third time. Thank you guys for joining us. As usual, if you guys are on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to us, or go to YouTube and subscribe to us. Check out our other podcast called WP Life. It's me or someone else venting about WordPress. It's pretty awesome. And finally, check out calderalearn.com. If you want to learn more about WordPress, Josh and I will teach you. That's it for now. I will see you guys next week.